Good afternoon. On behalf of St. Charles Avenue Presbyterian Church, I extend a warm welcome to you all for this centennial organ recital. My name is Chris Curry, and I'm senior pastor at this church. And I want to thank you for being here and also extend an invitation to you after the recital for a reception behind me in Frampton Fellowship Hall, where we can continue this celebration together. Today is a special day for this church and for our director of music, Stephen Blackman, as he installs something he always wanted in this sanctuary: this gigantic screen. Seriously, we welcome members of our community, organ enthusiasts, music lovers, people who have helped get this organ to this point, all who are gathered here. Our hope is that this is not a one-off event, but simply the beginning of events like this that will become regular occurrences in the programming of this congregation. So if you are a student or a music lover or organ enthusiast or interested member of our community, we are glad that you are here, and we also want this to be your instrument as well. And we look forward to many opportunities to put it to good use for the future. I'd also like to say some words of gratitude to donors and givers who helped make this organ possible, to volunteers and staff from this church community who helped unload 3 18-wheelers full of pipes, organ parts, and crates and brought them into this space, to architects and church sextons and contractors and craftspeople, to organ committee chairs, property committee chairs, tariff lawyers who helped ensure safe passage, to choir members, musicians, patient congregants. All of you had an important role to play in this instrument being with us now. This week I shared a quotation from a Reformed pastor and theologian who reminds us that the purpose of worship is the praise of God and not necessarily always focused on the experience of the individual worshiper. And in a world of dopamine hits and TikTok shares and getting clicks and followers, that can be kind of a jarring thing to hear. That the purpose of worship is not just to stimulate all our senses, but to help us transcend them. Our hope for this instrument, though, is that it will help us do just that. That it will be a tool that helps lift our hearts, inspire our spirits, and nourish our souls for the glory of God. Thank you.
Good afternoon, folks. Fellow organist, church members, anybody who might have simply heard pipes wafting down the avenue and decided to wander in, you are most welcome to be here. My name is Stephen Blackman. I've had the great good fortune to be this church's director of music and organist for almost 40 years. Knock wood, but I think it's going to work out. Today marks the second inaugural recital of this splendid new instrument by Létourneau, a Canadian firm. After more than 20 years in the making, it's fair to say this organ has had a longer gestation period than most major construction projects and possibly a few civilizations. It's been in the work for over 2 decades. When the idea was first bandied about, some of us were younger, some of us had fewer opinions about organ pipe scaling, and the phrase post-Katrina recovery had not yet entered our vocabulary. Katrina happened and rather decisively suggested that we move our timeline. We listened reluctantly, but like any great organ crescendo, the effort has built slowly, steadily, and thankfully has now reached a thrilling full organ conclusion. I'm especially pleased to welcome Dr. Tom Mitz, who is the owner of Létourneau and my longtime friend and colleague. It's one thing to build an organ of this magnitude. It is quite another to do so for a friend who has very strong opinions about every little thing. Tom, we are grateful not only for your company's craftsmanship, but also for the armada of excellent artisans in your employ who have brought this marvel to life. Tom, where are you? You're here somewhere. Would you just pop up? There he is, back there. Today's program also offers something genuinely rare, a world premiere. Actually, it was a world premiere on Friday night. This is the second version. Létourneau has commissioned a new work by renowned organist and composer David Briggs in memory of Dudley Oakes, the company's previous owner and Tom's husband. Dudley was my partner in crime back in 2002 when we both started imagining a new instrument for St. Charles. He was vice president of sales back then and went on in later years to become the owner of the company. It will always be my great sorrow that Dudley was not able to be around to experience this day and to enjoy this organ about which he held such enthusiasm. Not only are we inaugurating a new instrument, we are giving birth to new repertoire for it. No pressure, of course, on anyone involved. It's a fitting tribute and a reminder that this instrument is not just about sound, but about legacy as well. And apparently, because we didn't feel like all of that was enough, we've entrusted this entire occasion to Ken Cowan, who is the head of the organ department at Rice University, and frankly, someone who makes the rest of us consider our life choices at the keyboard. If this organ had any anxiety about its first public outing, it can relax. Ken is in the driver's seat and is about to make it sound like it's been doing this for years. I want to thank my brother from another mother, Adrian Cook, who's sitting right there, who's been taking care of all the instruments here at St. Charles. Since 1993, he's been taking great care of us, and now this baby is entrusted to his quality care. He's already been up there crawling around and fixing things and tuning things. It's in the best possible hands. Thank you for being here, my St. Charles folks, especially for your patience, your support, and your shared enthusiasm for a project that has taken the scenic route to completion. This afternoon, at long last, the organ once again gets the final word, and judging by the variety of voices in the stop list, I know it will be a colorful one. I hope you will help me thank J.P. Allen, who is climbing around up in the loft, and he's the one who's putting this image, which is not there right now. It will occasionally blip and then come back. So when it disappears, don't freak out. It's fine. It'll come back. But JP, thank you so much for doing this for us. And now, would you join me? How many of you were here on Friday night? Just hold your hand up. Oh, Lord, you're back again. What a testimony. Thank you for coming back. I just want to introduce you to Ken Cowan and hope you enjoy the concert. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. What a great sound to be able to share with you. I'm absolutely thrilled to be part of the inaugural festivities of this great new pipe organ. I knew its predecessor, and I can say with all honesty and a good bit of experience, this is just exponentially better, and is going to serve this church for generations really admirably. I'm going to do my best over the next hour and a little bit to give you the best possible tour of the organ. Louis Vierne was organist at Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, and the sounds of the great instrument there and the huge acoustic inspired his writing. Camille Saint-Saëns composed Danse Macabre for orchestra, and it's what's called a tone poem, a piece that is meant to illustrate some kind of text in music. In this case, it is evoking a poem that describes the mysterious happenings at the midnight hour. So the piece begins with 12 chimes representing midnight. A character emerges, and that character is carrying a violin. If you've heard a violinist tune, it's to this, sometimes for a long time. And this is what our violinist tunes to, and that is significant only because that interval was considered forbidden in medieval times because of what it might conjure. And then we launch into our main character, serenading all mysterious things out there with a kind of determined-sounding waltz. And you'll hear musical characters coming all out of the woodwork, adding to the complexities of the proceedings. There's a kind of lush and more romantic middle section, but the intensity of the beginning returns and gets even more fervent. Just when you think things couldn't get any more frenzied, things stop in their tracks on a single note, E flat. And 5 notes represent the crow of a rooster, the dawn of a new day, and the end of all things fairy tale, and our Danse Macabre. As you can see, the timbral possibilities of this organ are really symphonic in scope. And we've, I think, done a quick tour of the main different sounds of the organ that imitate orchestral counterparts, like flutes and trumpets, string tones, oboes, clarinets. But there is one part of the organ that is really unique to the instrument itself. Those stops are usually called principals or diapasons, and they are in the instrument at a variety of pitches. And those are the sounds that really make an organ sound like itself, uniquely. And the Johann Sebastian Bach Prelude and Fugue in E minor we'll have now is going to give you a glimpse of those organ-specific sounds. Bach wrote dozens of preludes and fugues, and later on in his life, he had made the architecture of these pieces really quite intricate. His compositional style evolved continuously through his life, and he had encountered Italian string writing, and specifically concerto forms. If you ever go to the orchestra and hear a concerto of some sort, you have a familiar expectation of what you might find as far as the structure of a piece. Usually the whole orchestra plays a section at the beginning, and you hear all of the thematic material that's going to be developed. And then a soloist, or a small group of soloists, usually branches off, and they begin to develop that material. But you'll hear back and forth between orchestra and soloists. Well, in this case, it's different parts of the organ. You have one big ensemble at the beginning, smaller sections branch off, but you'll hear that large ensemble come back with the same music again and again in different keys. Bach, when he writes the fugue to this piece, it's nicknamed the wedge because it starts on one note and then branches out interval-wise till the distance of an octave, so it looks like a wedge on paper. Bach has that subject enter 1, 2, 3, 4 times until you'll hear 4 voices spinning around each other. And then he brings that big section to a conclusion, and you'll hear things thin down to one voice and get much faster, as if a soloist started spinning out a kind of development of that original idea. And once again, you have this juxtaposition of big ensemble and smaller soloist sections going back and forth. Bach crowns the whole fugue by doing a reprise of the opening. So if you think at the end, I've heard this music before, but softer, you are right. While you are finding your way back to your seats, I'll tell you a little bit about the introduction and Passacaglia fugue that will begin the second half of our program. Healy Willan is a name that is not necessarily known even to classical music-loving audience, but he was known as the Dean of Canadian Composers in his day being really the early to middle part of the 20th century. Willan emigrated to Canada from England right around 1910, give or take a year, and the reason for that was that he was appointed music director at St. Paul's Anglican Church on Bloor Street in Toronto, which has a great Casavant organ, which is built in a kind of English cathedral style. So Willan was inspired by the sounds of that organ to compose this introduction in Passacaglia and fugue. The reason for its composition was that he attended a recital with a friend at which one of the great Passacaglias and fugues by Max Reger was performed. And Willan's friends turned to him and said, "Well, boy, it takes the organized intellect of a German to construct a piece like that." And Willan, who didn't have any German blood at all, in fact, he described himself as English by birth, Canadian by adoption, Irish by extraction, and Scotch by absorption. He, nonetheless, took the challenge and began by composing a theme. In the case of a Passacaglia, the theme goes in the bass, so you'll know the Passacaglia is beginning when you hear it rumbling away in the pedal, softly at first. Willan had a cottage on Lake Simcoe, north of Toronto, and in those days you could go back and forth on a trolley, so what he did was take each trolley ride as an opportunity to write one variation on that theme. And then he tried to outdo himself by composing a fugue, and finally the introduction that ushers in the entire proceedings in mysterious fashion. Oh, it's probably 17 or 18 minutes long, so a monumental undertaking by him, but explores the resources of a large instrument really wonderfully. David Briggs is internationally renowned as a performing organist, a fantastic improviser, and fortunately, he is enhancing the organ repertoire by composing regularly new pieces. I'm really thrilled to be able to present to you this piece, which was written in honor and in memory of Dudley Oakes, without whom I'm quite sure we wouldn't be gathered here today. And the inspiration for this organ is a great, I think, tribute and legacy. A Scherzo Symphonique is a piece roughly following the outline of the Danse Macabre that we had earlier in the program. It's a whimsical piece, but one that explores the full range of the dynamic range of a big orchestra. And David Briggs, I think, wouldn't mind me telling you that one of his idols was Pierre Cochereau, who was the organist of Notre Dame in Paris, widely known as an improviser. And David wrote down many of Cochereau's improvisations because he was so fascinated with them. And this form, Scherzo Symphonique, was a favorite of Cochereau, and so I can hear a little bit of homage in David's writing. Before we close our program with the Prelude to Die Meistersinger, transcribed from Wagner's opera, I should tell you that one of the reasons when I was a youngster that I got inspired to pursue organ playing was a fellow named James Bigham who made an album called Grand Opera on the Organ. He was organist at Holy Trinity Lutheran in Buffalo, where I eventually studied. And so the generosity of that church really still remains inspiring to this day. I have to tell you, I've known the people here long enough that this church reminds me very much of that childhood memory. I've known so many excellent students who have been supported by the congregation here and given access to the organ and mentored by Stephen Blackman, who is a tremendously gifted musician and teacher. And I want to congratulate everyone who is a part of the community here for lifting up the younger generation who someday will occupy these benches. And this organ is going to be a really great vehicle to inspire a new generation to learn how to play it.